Good morning. Appreciate y'all for tuning in and rocking with us for another edition of the Morning Breeze, man. Always rocking with you guys, as always, man. Outside of me, I got my guy, Mr. Media himself, Jordan JC, in the building. Calm down, you filthy animals. I see you at the front door. I know you're there. We're coming. We got a morning breeze to do. Good grief. Breeze Nation, what's good? It's your boy, Pat the Designer. Back at it again. Appreciate you guys for tuning in and showing love to another edition of the Morning Breeze. On today's show, is there an offensive line coach all ready to go? Brad Biggs has an interesting name that he's thrown into the mix. We'll also take a look at a couple of other names that could be out there, because this has got to be the only city that cares so much about who the next offensive line coach is. And I get it.
It's important. It's important.
It's important. And that, for fifth, has us taking a very interesting pass rusher who probably fell off a lot of people's radars last season due to some injury. And could he be a good spot for the Chicago Bears, or could he be a good player for the Chicago Bears to bring in? They believe this is his best landing spot. And then we got to finish this thing having a real conversation as we've done here.
Yep.
This Rooney Rule.
Yeah.
What we doing? You know, like, is it really working? Are we really doing it? All that and more in today's episode of the Morning Breeze. The date's 1/28/2025. It's 7:07 in the morning. Got a little bit late. Y'all are late, not me.
Yeah, it's your fault. It's your fault, Chirac.
Told me it was your fault. Appreciate y'all for rocking with us, man. Big vibes, big vibes, big vibes. Oh, George JC, what's going on, my guy? How you feeling today?
Man, feeling good, man. You know, I think we got a couple of good candidates for the offensive line.
Good names out there, though.
I wanted a guy. Honestly, I wanted them to pull every doggone coach from Detroit. I wanted Detroit to be just completely empty by the time the season started. But I'm okay with these names that we're going to be talking about.
Bro, I'm not going to lie. Seeing the mugs the other day just be like, I thought you said you weren't going to push Detroit. You took Antoine Randall out. Why? It was just great, bro.
Going nuts.
Is Detroit fans turning on Ben Johnson?
That's insane.
The biggest surprise that you've seen in football in a while here?
I'm not surprised, because they're not used to winning. They've won so much in the last 2 seasons or 3 seasons that I feel like they feel like it's like the ultimate, like, unforgivable sin. But I mean, let's just narrow it down to our level. If I am able to get a promotion at another job, or I go for a job offer with more money to provide for my family, and that situation is a better destination for me, I'm gonna take it. Like, what are we talking about? Like, you should understand, this guy wants to be a head coach. You knew that coming in, that he had that opportunity the year before and he didn't take it. So you should be happy that you had another year of him. But them saying that because he could have went somewhere else instead of staying in the division. Like, come on, later for that, man.
I would take that as respect, though. Like, it's like, okay, you want to go up against us? Bet it up. We got beat.
True. Yeah,
I would take it as respect. Oh, you want to play us? Oh, man, we got beef. We swinging. I'm beefing. I'm mad. Like I wouldn't have it as, like, I swear, like, you seeing the difference between him and Aaron Glenn, it was a stark contrast when it was like, oh, Aaron, great to have you here, man. We loved your time with your defense. Ben, you son of a, you get out of here, man.
That's crazy.
God, man, we don't want you anymore. Take that with you.
Completely devastated.
Just a tear in their eye. They'll get over it. Probably not. F 'em. Hey man, let's talk a little offensive line because dare I say we've got some interesting reporting from Brad Biggs. And here's the one thing that I say: when Brad Biggs tweets, you listen.
Oh, you listen.
No matter what, you can think what you want about a lot of these people out here. When Brad Biggs tweets, you listen. Brad Biggs had this to say about the Chicago Bears' possible opening or a possible O-line signing here for the opening that we do have after letting Chris Morgan go. Dropped this on Twitter yesterday. Said a name to keep an eye on as Bears O-line coach is Dan Roushar. He spent 10 where he worked with Dan Campbell. New Orleans has some top-tier O-lines. Roushar previously coached at Illinois and NIU. He's currently at Tulane, where he's been since 2023. Now, I know your first thought here when you see a Dan Roushar is who? But this gentleman, not young man. Well, maybe young man, depending on how you look at it. I'll call him a young man. Shout out to you. Keep living.
I'm 64 years old.
He's been in coaching 30 plus years. He has everything as far as being an O-line coach that you need for an O-line coach. He has some top tier O-lines in his time with the Saints, as Dan brought out as well. I mean, this is a hire to me that would make sense for the Chicago Bears. Again, you see that New Orleans connection. You see that Dan Campbell connection. You see that Sean Payton connection. I think also the fact that you have guys in here who are from that connection already just kind of makes this kind of a perfect blend of things coming together. They're really going down this Sean Payton tree. And I think that this is a great place to start to me. When I saw the name Dan Roushar, I did the same thing you did. I said, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know in depth on Dan Roushar, but as you go through his coaching history, I mean, just a litany of teams, a litany of good offensive lines, and you know, he's a no nonsense guy, and I like that. And the biggest part is, right, the conversation we've continued to have, JC, is about development throughout his history. You can go through and you can see guys that he's been able to develop and he's been able to put together, that he's been able to send to the league from his time in college. Like he said, he spent time in NIU back in from 97 to 2002. He was at NIU, had a couple of stints at Illinois. He was the OC at Illinois. He was the quarterback at Illinois, offensive coordinator at Illinois in 03. Not some great times at Illinois. I'm not going to lie to you. I remember those days. But to me, just a good name for the Bears to go out there and get, and one that I think leads the pack right now if I was going to talk about guys at the top of my list.
No, I am right there with you, and actually, I'm glad you mentioned that. You know, you mentioned some of the notable names that he is connected to. We talked about Dennis Allen, and I had brought up some notable names on the Daily Show yesterday. Doing a little bit more research because, like you, I initially didn't understand who this guy was. I didn't know who Dan Roushar it was, but when you look at some of the names that came through on New Orleans, you got Doug Free, Andrus Peat, Terran Armstead, Ryan Ramczyk. Like, these are some of the names that are connected to him. And it's interesting that it says that he, when it comes to these players, none of them would make any fewer than at least one Pro Bowl under his watch. Some of these guys have 2 to 3 Pro Bowls in their time under his development. And so that's one of the things that you're going to get, is you're going to get a master at getting the most out of your players. That is what he is. He has experience in droves, obviously, on both levels, college and the pros, but you're getting a person who will just continue to tap into that untapped potential. So when you have guys on the team like Braxton Jones and Kieran and Amagaji, who maybe we feel like they're not tapping into everything that maybe they have, and we're a little uncertain about, you know, their place on this team moving forward. And we're wondering, well, do we have to get another left tackle replacement and kind of go past them or forego them? No. Well, this is a guy who can come in the building and maybe tap into something that will allow them to actually be as successful as we thought they would be. And so, yes, I love this name. I love it, Dan Roushar. If you were able to pluck him from Tulane and put him on here, that would be a strong get. Again, I love the way that Ben Johnson is going about his business. There's obvious ties to Dan Campbell with the Saints, and then there's the tie to the Sean Payton tree. I think that's the going theme here, is that, you know, you're constantly connected to those sides. But I love it. I don't mind the Dan Roushar coming in the building and solidifying this offensive line because I feel like that is the hugest, I would say, need an upgrade outside of getting the head coach.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you saw Simo survive, kind of like Don Cooper did with the White Sox. Just like you're just looking over there, you're just like another staff, you're still here. I mean, the one thing I do think that survived the most is the fact that we got over 100 in the chat, over 200 in the chat, over 300 in the chat, 300. There you go. I figured I'd give you a little
Thank you. You know,
I mean, we got over 700 in the chat last time. You were
you were giving me a little tired. I was exhausted.
You were going at it. Yeah. Hey, shout out to the chat in the building, man. Who all we got up in here? Auntie Dej in the building. Shout out sis in the building.
Okay, Auntie.
Duran Thomas in this mug, man. Ivan Spells up in here.
Okay.
I'm going good vibes, not the vibes I thought he said there. Noah P in the building. Shout out to y'all, man. Levante in this mug, man.
Shout out Nova. Shout out Roddy B.
Corey Swope in here, man. Appreciate y'all for tuning in and showing love, man. Roddy B in this mug. Corey said Beanie Gang. Devon in this mug. Yeah, man. Shout out to y'all, man. Shout out to y'all. Here's the one thing that I ask you, and I think that this is the conversation you really got to have about the offensive line if you're going to if we're talking about the coaches, right? Now, Simo, I think we kind of feel, all right, bro, like they let you take over the world and you effed everything up. Like, I don't know if you had a good offensive line or you just can't coach, and then they gave you the running game, and you were like, "Hey, how about this too?" You know what I mean? Like that's kind of what we got here. Jimmy Hoff in the building. Welcome, Jimmy. Yes. Hello, Jimmy.
Shout out Jimmy.
You know what? Jimmy back sooner than Don Burr.
Yeah, I was about to say Don is taking a hiatus.
Is Don dead? Do we need to check
he's, in Cancun with the team? Might have taken a vacation with the team.
Somebody executed a mafia style hit on Don.
Gotta check on him.
Somebody check on Don, man. Where did the Detroit fans at?
Come on.
But no, I do think you have to ask the question: was coaching the issue, or do you feel like it's a talent issue, or is there more talent on this team than what we think? Right? Like, where do you kind of fall with that? Because to me, I think you're drafting the wrong built guys. You know what I mean? When I look at a lot of these guys, I'm like, oh, look at that. He's built like poles. You know what I mean? Like, I think you're drafting the wrong built guys. I don't think there's more to get out of Braxton Jones. I don't know what you're getting out of Karan Amagaji. I would expect your hope for him is that your ceiling is Braxton Jones level based off of where you started last season.
That's bad, though.
Great. You know what I mean? Like, you took him with a third round pick. So, like, are you trying to bring these guys in to coach the scheme right? Or are you trying to bring these guys in to get the most out of the players you currently have? And I don't know one way or the other with it. I don't know where the talent level is on this team. Listen, I can sit here and say, go get Trey Smith and go get Ryan Kelly and go get all these names. I said this last season. I can't believe that Brian Poles is going to do that. I get it. New coach, new all of this. It's so shiny. We're excited. Oh my goodness, so excited. Same dude still with the same staff still up there, right?
Yeah.
I'm nervous. I can't tell you he's going to go get Trey Smith. He's going to pay the bag to go get him. Like that. And so those are the things where it's like, what are we bringing you in here to do? Of course, I think you're bringing them in to run the scheme, but like, is this a coach good talent that's already going to be here, or that we're going to bring in, or is this, hey, you got to coach these boys up that we got on our team?
Well, I think it's a little bit of all of that, in my opinion. And when you see these guys and their track record, I think that's what stands out the most. When you're bringing in people who have had years and years of experience, but then you also have certain players in the league that have played at a high level that are connected to the development of what these coaches have done. That's where I get a little bit more tingly, and I'm like, okay, well, that's why you can bring a guy and you can expect them to raise the bar. Because one of the problems that we had last year, knowingly going into the season, we found out that there wasn't enough discipline. We found out, such as when Cole Kmet kept talking about that, practices weren't many players weren't really putting forth as much effort. Could that have kind of gone, kind of swindled into the offensive line as well? Were players putting in as much effort and time to improve? And so, yes, the development obviously is key for whoever that comes in for the offensive line coach for these guys. But then the experience behind it, I think that's why you're getting the best of both worlds with a guy like Dan Roushar, because you've seen him elevate the play of multiple players. You've seen him elevate the play and turn people into stars. So when I look at a guy like Karan versus even Braxton, I would hope that he would be even better than Braxton. You picked him in the 3rd round. Braxton is a guy who was picked in the 5th. If I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So your expectations should be higher for Karan, even though he came in hurt. You should be saying, okay, we need to get more out of you. Even if we need to put you at guard, because we talked about tackles turning into decent guards or very good guards at this level. So maybe you develop him into a very good guard. If Tevin Jenkins is going to leave, maybe Karan takes his place, and then we worry about drafting. Another good thing that I love about Dan Roushar is that because he's been in college for a good amount of time, he also knows what good players look like in college. He's also been a part of the drafting process.
Yeah.
And evaluating that. So that's another guy who you can bring in this building along with Dennis Allen to say, okay, Ryan, this is what it looks like. This is where we can help you out, because we know that you've had a track record of being kind of piss poor past the 3rd round. We got a lot of picks coming up. We potentially could have more with Ian maybe leaving, maybe so. And I don't know what we're doing with Keenan. Like, there could be some 3rd or 4th round picks that we get here. We need to hit on all these guys. And so that's the reason why I think you look at it from all angles. You say the experience is needed. You definitely got to work on the development on this line. And then, of course, you see the notable players that these guys are connected to.
No, 100%. Like that's the part that gets me excited. Seeing the notables, seeing the development, seeing the guys, the skins on the wall, seeing dudes that have done it. We brought in Shane Waldron. Our big thing was, he helped develop Geno Smith, and then it was like, maybe he didn't.
That one guy.
You know what I mean? Maybe he didn't. Like, Geno was out the league. And it was like, and then, like I said, I remember coming back from talking with some of the Chicago beat reporters to the show, and I was just like, Andy. It's not good. It's not good. Shout out Paulie G with Super Chat. $20 Super Chat. Appreciate you supporting us at that level. Paulie G says, so far, everything is looking good. Now I just need polls to draft the best players available. Or legit blue chipper. Don't try to draft the ultimate boom or bust player. And I'm still mad he didn't draft Jalen Carter. Yeah, watching Jalen Carter every week is always interesting. I've still got a lot of hope for Darnell, but I don't know if he'll be Jalen Carter. And the tough part about that is like, that to me is like this year. Like, I really like Will Campbell. If Abdul Carter falls, Will Campbell. I'll find some 2nd and 3rd round offensive linemen. Yeah, exactly. I'm not gonna lie to you, dog. The part that I think is interesting is there's a couple of other names out there as well that could be thrown on this list of guys to watch out for.
Research.
Joe, they got to, bro. Listen, and people was asking about who do you think the offensive line coaches should be? I'm like, I don't know. I don't even think I could name you 4 in the entire league, and one of them's not on a team already, so you'd have to make them the OC. But no, a couple of potential candidates, I think. Joe Philbin, you remember him? Little head coaching stint in the NFL. Little Joe Philbin action. Been an offensive line coach a long time in this league. And then Mike Munchak, I think, is a name that even Joel brought up when we talked about it. To me, this is if you go with a list like this, you've got a ton of experience on this list. You've got guys with the skins on the wall. You've got guys with the development in place. I think that they're names that you really could benefit from having in the building, each and every one of them. I think that right now, to me, Roushar is probably the front runner because of the connection with Campbell, because of the connection with the Saints. That seems to be the connection that Ben Johnson is really pulling from for this. But it is good to see that we're hearing some of these names start to pop up, and that they do have some good connections, some good skins on the wall, some good development, and some wins. I mean, listen, the Dan Roushar won like that. That was a heck of an offensive line that won a heck of a lot of games. So good to see all of that. Hopefully this ends up working out for the Chicago Bears as well. By the way, JC, over 400 in the chat. Over 500 in the chat. 500. There you go.
Good morning.
Good morning. That's the morning breeze. All right. We're going to keep this thing moving along, man. We're going to take a quick break listening to a word from our sponsors. When we come back, I want to tell you about a player that PFF has listed as for the Chicago Bears to be the best landing spot. This is an interesting name here because of injury, you've kind of forgotten about him. We'll talk about that on the other side. But first, we're going to listen into a word from our sponsors. Appreciate y'all. We'll be right back. Appreciate you guys for tuning in and watching the show. Today's episode of the podcast is brought to you by Aura. Have you ever done a Google search on your own name? You'd be surprised what pops up. Your full name, email address, home address, health records, your relatives. It's all out there. And that's why I've been using Aura, the sponsor of today's video. Aura shows me which data brokers are selling my information and automatically submits opt-out requests just for me. Cleaning up my information not only helps reduce the amount of spam I get, but it protects me from hackers who could use that information to help them access my social media, bank accounts, and other sensitive information. It's really simple to set up. I don't have to download several apps or go to things like antivirus, VPN, password management, parental controls, identity theft, but you can get all of that in one place with Aura. I get everything at one affordable price as well. You may already have one or two of these tools, but not having Aura is like leaving the front door locked while leaving the back door and windows wide open. For you to be able to take advantage of Aura, we got a special deal for you here today. Stop data brokers from exposing your personal information. Go to my sponsor at https:/aura.com/the Windy City. Again, that is aura.com/the Windy City to get a 14-day free trial and see how much of your information is being sold.
When a severe storm hits, hail and high-speed winds can cause excessive damage to your home. This can lead to blown-off shingles, broken windows, siding damage, and leaking inside. If you suspect your home has been hit with storm damage, contact CNN Construction today. We are a proud GAF Master Elite contractor, offering free exterior home inspection for storm-related damages. CNN is a reputable licensed roofing and general contractor working hand-in-hand with insurance companies and homeowners every step of the way through the difficult claims and restoration process. We will meet with your insurance adjuster to discuss the damages to your property, the value of those repairs, and the scope of work needed at your home. Our skilled team has you covered and will leave your home looking brand new. Give us a call today at 844-415-ROOF or visit our website at cnroofs.com for a free exterior inspection. CNN Construction. We find the solutions, not the excuses.
Welcome back. Appreciate y'all for tuning in and showing love to another edition of the Morning Breeze, brought to you by the Windy City Breeze Sports Talk Daily.
Yep.
Talking about O-line coaches. Got to be the only city in the world that cares deeply about who the next O-line coach is. And I respect it because my quarterback took a lot of sacks. I'll tell you what, we talked about on yesterday's show. If you didn't see yesterday's show, some great mocks. There's some good mocks getting whipped out here.
Oh,
and
another.
Yeah, like both PFF and Mel Kiper's first mock have us taking offensive line. I like the direction that we're finally thinking this offseason. Let's hope we keep going that direction, man.
You doggone right.
Appreciate y'all for showing love, man. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do.
Come on. Push the button. Come on. Push the button. Come on, push the button.
Yeah, come on, push your button.
You heard what she said.
Y'all heard what Sue Young said. Push the button.
Push the goddamn button.
Oh, man, let's keep this thing moving along, JC, because PFF
Phil
has an interesting name to the Chicago Bears. Now, this player suffered a season-ending injury before 2024, but his momentum from the back half of 2023, where he earned an impressive 81.3 overall grade, might have had him as one of the most coveted free agents this cycle. That name is Malcolm Koonce. Koonce.
I was thinking Koonce. Two O's.
Koonce. Double O. Koonce.
Double O.
Tough name. 6'2", 250 pounds.
Yeah.
26 years old.
Oh, yeah.
This young man missed the entire 2024 season, but in 2023, he finished out the season with 8 sacks, had 5 assisted tackles, 3 forced fumbles, 25 solo tackles on 501 sacks. A game wrecker off of that opposite edge might be able to get him in here on a little bit of a discount due to the fact that he's dealt with that injury. He's been out for such an extended amount of time. You don't know what you're going to get back. And him being available, I do think, is a very, very interesting candidate for the Bears to bring in and possibly work out here. Now, they do go on to say, however, with only 1 season of notable production and a recent injury, some teams may end up being very hesitant on bringing him in. Remember, this is not, 10 years of production here. 26 years old, only been in the league a couple of years, got his feet under him, and basically end up going out pretty much right after that. The Bears do need a ton of pass rush help. And you still got some great cap space there. I think this is a name, if you go all in on the offensive line and you want to draft some pieces and maybe have some young pieces, Malcolm Koonce to me makes the most sense in that scenario, because if you're going to go big money on the offensive line, you probably can't also go big money on the defensive line.
Yeah, I love this name. This is actually not a name that's surprising to me. I know when we were talking about potential defensive ends or edge rushers in the past free agency, or even when it came to the middle part of the season, we were talking about names like a Danielle Hunter. We threw names out there like Trey Hendrickson. Some of the bigger fishes, and in that secondary pool, I believe I even saw Malcolm Koonce's name, and that was one of the reasons why, as you look at his projection in 2023, being a 26-year-old going into his prime. I mean, I wouldn't mind taking a chance on a guy like this, especially, he would come at a cheaper price because of the injury and because of the lack of production outside of that one really stellar season. Yeah. However, that stellar season does show you his potential. And I looked up Pro Football Focus just 6 days ago, says that he projects as a contract to a 2-year deal worth $37.5 million. So, I mean, are you interested in him maybe getting him at 18 per? Somewhere around there, 18 and a half per. That's not bad. That's not bad.
More baggy than I thought it was going to be. I'm not going to lie to you.
More baggy,
Because here's my thing, right? And I love the 1 season of production out of Malcolm Koonce. But 2021 didn't get a ton of snaps, 48 snaps. Yeah. 2022, 68 snaps. Not a ton of production. 2023 is the season where he gets 501 snaps, gets his opportunity to be on the field, gets his opportunity to go after it, and that's the season where he has a season-ending injury. So the question mark in my mind is, while I love the name, I love the production, if we want to talk about bringing him in here possibly for, 2 for 30, yeah, I mean, I can have that conversation. If we want to talk about, I'd like to go even lower than that. I'd love to be around 2 for 25. Somewhere on that, because the production is there. You have to pay for the production that you've seen, but the fact that he is been hurt, missed an entire season, I think the market's going to be much less. I think there's also a ton of edge rushers in this draft, which hurts his market as well. I can't trust the fact that the 1 season where they were like, all right, kid, let's see what you got, is the season where he also hurts himself.
I think it's also because you look at the tape, because I think I did look at some of his highlights, and he does kind of jump out at you when, at the very least, he's on the field and his production is very high level. I mean, he has a ton of different moves to get to the quarterback. He is a high motor, very, very, very good pass rusher who is nonstop. And I think that's one of the reasons why, even again, when you look at the age, maybe that's why the potentially could be a little higher than you want coming off of injury, because you're looking at, okay, he's going into maybe his better years, and the potential of him being a really, really good player. You could lock him up for maybe cheaper than maybe what he could give you. Maybe his numbers will catapult if he stays healthy, and you might even be getting him for cheaper than what his production could potentially be. And so maybe that's one of the reasons. But I mean, hey, take every shot here. Do your due diligence and doing some homework on this guy. Make sure that obviously maybe he's past the injury fully and that he's fully healthy and ready to go. But that is a name that is out there. I would love to add him to, like you mentioned, if you're addressing offensive linemen in free agency, then yeah, that would be fine. I wouldn't mind obviously going after him. You know how I also feel about the fact that maybe you want to bring a Khalil Mack type of player back as well.
Yeah.
But if you get a Malcolm Koonce, I'm not mad.
See, the whole Matt conversation to me is so that's terrifying as well, because it's like, yes, he's got the production. He had a down season last year. You know what he's going to be as a player.
Yeah.
What am I paying for? Am I paying for 2 years ago, or am I paying for last year? I love every time I hear the Khalil Mack conversation, people say he's got 23 sacks
23,
over the last
yeah,
2 years.
yeah.
Nobody talks about the fact that 16 of those were the year before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That feels very Michael Jordan,
Sure.
Bill Wennington-ish is all I'm saying, right? Like, yo, hey, how'd y'all play today? Oh, me and Mike went for 50. Y'all went for 50? Yeah, Mike had 45.
Lord,
I had 5.
actually, Jesus, he actually had 17 and 23 and only 6 and 24. I didn't realize.
And listen, a 6-sack season, still a very productive season. I'm
not
not out
bad.
on that. I would love to have a guy who could have 6 sacks on the other side of Montez Sweat. But Khalil Mack come with the cachet of the Mack name.
That's true.
That Mack name costs money.
That's true.
I ain't got money for the Mack name. I need money for the Mack sacks.
The Mack sacks.
You know what I mean?
I like that.
That's a new meal at McDonald's coming soon. The Mack sack.
Okay. Oh, the Mack sack.
Or McDowell's, actually, because at McDowell's. But no, it's just like, this is going to be such a. I'll say this, and I thought about this yesterday. I think we're about to see a very pivotal change in offensive line money this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, I think the Bears are going to get hit right in the pocketbooks. And that is going to provide less money for some of those names like a Khalil Mack, some of those top names that are going to be out there. That's why I think a Malcolm Koonce would be a very, very good get. I wouldn't want him at 37 over 2. If I can get him around 25-30 over 2, I'd be in on that. But what's happening with the offensive line, the shift that's happening because of how defenses are playing and different things like that, a lot more cover 2, a lot more, dare I say, more time in the pocket than we've ever seen for quarterbacks. Also a lot more mobile quarterbacks. We talk about tackles so much, and I do think it's important.
Mm-hmm.
But so many sacks on these quarterbacks are coming from the middle of your offensive line. I think that guard money, I think that center money is about to go. Now, center money always was great, but I think that guard money, more so than anything, is about to go through the roof.
Yeah.
And I think that Trey Smith is the one that's going to set that.
I was just about to ask you think Trey's going to alter that?
I think but when I watched that Chiefs game, and when I watch, and listen, I'll say both. When I watch the Chiefs game and when I watch the Eagles game, two of the best offensive lines in football. The Chiefs don't have great tackles. The Chiefs have great interior, great center play, great guard play.
Mm-hmm.
The Eagles have a great offensive line, all 5. I would love to have what the Eagles have if we get there, but that's a different story. I watched Trey Smith in that game, and I went, "Ooh, we're gonna have to pay him 25, not 20, aren't we?" This is going to be bad.
You just cut a few people.
I watched him in that game just like hold down
Mm-hmm.
Von Miller on the line, just like, nope, not yet. Nope, knee in the back. Take it. All right, there we go. All right, I'm out here. I mean, a little extra, little chicanery, but making sure his quarterback was protected.
Make sure you don't get to the guy.
He's going to be more expensive than I wanted him to be as a guard.
Yep.
And I think that's going to be the new wave of the NFL. For everybody sitting there looking at it like running back money is back. My brain is like guard money is going to suck.
And it's actually, to your point too, you've always mentioned that left tackles, if they don't work out there at that position, what can they turn into? They can turn into really good guards.
Yeah.
So I think there is going to be a certain level of or upgrade in price and value when it comes to the interior, because that's the quickest way to the quarterback. Yes, the left tackle and the right tackle are pivotal. Yes, you still need the blind side. You still need those big guys to make sure that they're doing their job. But the interior is definitely going to be more important. And like you said, I think Trey is going to be the start of that. And hey, again, no amount is too much. If Trey is not giving up anything, pay him what he wants. If you got to add another $5 million on there, we just cut a few people to add more to our salary cap. Use that to put it towards him if he makes it to free agency. So I'm fine with that. I'm fine with the guards. Actually, the changing of the guards. If you will.
Boy,
I'm fine with that.
You know what's weird about it though? Like that, it has been the thing that has hurt guard money is you can take tackles and just move them inside the guard.
True. Yeah.
I don't know how many teams are still looking to do that. I don't know how many. I think it's always been a thing. It's always been something that can be done. But I feel like more teams, more times than not, look at bad tackles. Like I think they'll draft a tackle and say, we'll move you inside the guard.
Mm.
I don't think teams now are looking to sign a tackle and then say, we'll move you inside the guard. Like nobody's looking at Cam Robinson, at least I wouldn't think so, and going, let's kick him inside the guard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're not seeing those conversations happen. By the way, just before we over 700 next year. Oh, we got a little applause on that. I didn't know about the applause.
A little applause with that one. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm clapping it up for you.
Nice.
Shout out to you, man. But we'll see what ends up happening here in the long run. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. George, JC, let's finish it out here because we've had a lot of coaching talk.
Yep.
And we've brought in coaches. We've talked to coaches. We have seen around the league this coaching cycle yet again implement the Rooney Rule. And it's a tough conversation because I believe two things are true. I believe you should interview people of color. I believe that you should interview people who look like me, look like JC, because they are usually the guys that are in the game that understand the game. They're usually the players. They're usually the ones that are coming up and know the most about football. All right.
Yeah.
So the fact that we're ignoring them at times is asinine. But I also believe that we went through a cycle where just about everybody had their guy. And I think it's a very tough conversation when you have a conversation on this Rooney Rule, because no matter what, your organization comes out looking like crap. Because it's one of two things. It's either hire the dude you didn't want just to have a conversation about it, or go with the guy you want, interview two people of color just to get it out of the way. And I think the Bears did a lot of that.
Yeah.
And I love our beloved. And I think that they do have probably the most forward thinking organization when it comes to hiring black candidates, hiring people of color, hiring candidate. I mean, look, the whole front office is black. And yet we still saw the Rooney Rule essentially circumvented because the NFL is making them put this in place. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I have a fix for it because I don't know what to do. And I do think that if you do nothing, things may end up going back to the way they were, where it's just, hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Oh, great. No, I mean, you know what I'm saying. It's all white up there. Yeah, I mean. But I do think a lot of these teams get bad raps, looked at bad, or even just don't care about it because of the fact that the NFL is making them do it. I look at the Patriots. They knew they wanted Mike Vrabel. I look at us. We knew we wanted Dennis Allen. We had 2 useless interviews for OC when we knew we wanted, or for DC when we knew we wanted Dennis Allen.
Was it Aubrey Pleasant and Eddie George?
Yeah. Well, no,
Yeah.
Aubrey. That was the OC. For the DC, we had. I don't even remember who was on the DC.
Yeah, so many.
That kind of makes the point, though.
Exactly.
Like I don't know what the fix is, but there's got to be something else that comes into play. Weaver from the Dolphins. Shout out to Ken Burke. Like,
Anthony Weaver.
Those are the things. Well, like we knew Ben Johnson walked in the door and Dennis Allen's name was falling out of his back pocket.
It connected right away. Yeah. So it wasn't like we weren't aware of who the candidates were. And here, at the end of the day, if we're being honest, and we can kind of open up this to a bigger discussion. Because again, I go back to using the example of when you're going for a specific job, going for an interview, you want the best candidates, no matter the background, the culture, the upbringing, the color, right? So for that matter, when you're bringing in a Dennis Allen who has had the track record that he has, who is one of the tops in the league in what he does when it comes to defense, you clearly are going to go after that candidate. That makes sense. It really does make sense.
Yeah.
I believe I saw Silver Harvest mention a really good point, though, is that I think maybe the issue is head coaches aren't necessarily as diverse as they need to be. Right. However, there has been an increase in coordinators and position coaches, maybe being a little bit more diverse. Maybe there's more.
I would say front office candidates as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, we have a running backs coach in Jennifer King that has been here for a couple years. You've seen women even over the course of certain teams. I believe there's another name that was a part of another team, a Baltimore Ravens assistant to the head coach, Megan Roseberg. I looked up her name as well. So you have some momentum. But I think even with this type of discussion, and if we can be honest, just like over the years of when it comes to certain race discussions, there's been improvement, right? There's been improvement in the quality of living for certain races. There's been improvement in the fairness and things of that nature. Yeah. But there's still room to grow, right? So I think that's the overall point, is that yes, this was good that this rule was put in place so that there could be a certain level of quote unquote fairness for others, the minorities particularly, to get a fair shot at getting these type of jobs, top tier jobs. But then too, maybe there's an issue that also needs to be had about the actual ownership, because I think that's the level where maybe there needs to be more discussion, because we know ownership has a certain look to it as well for these teams. And that's where I think the indifference is.
Yes. That ain't going nowhere though, which is the problem.
Yeah.
Which is, it's not a problem. I mean, they made their money, they bought the teams. That's not going anywhere. The ownership is what it is. Yeah. I think you're kind of just in that position there. The one thing that I'll ask this, right? And because we have this conversation just about every year with the Rooney Rule, especially when there's a team like, and you hate to say it, but when the Patriots are on the table, because they always circumvent it, no matter what. Even though, like last year, they had a black coach. Yeah. But then it felt like you went into that season with Gerard Mayo, like, they don't want him.
Mm-hmm. Let's just kind of see what happens.
This is a he got promised this job, and so they gave it to him situation, ain't it? Because they don't want him. Yeah. I think here's the question that you have to ask. If you're talking about the Rooney Rule, do you have to deal with some of the backlash for some of the good that it has caused? Now, as far as head coaches go, I don't know if you can say that the head coaching situation is the same. I don't think that a lot of head coaches are given enough time to develop what they really want to do. I think that usually people of color, head coaches, are given even less time.
Absolutely.
I mean, we've seen Lovie Smith multiple times. 1 year in, boop, get out. Yeah, I mean, great job. Thanks for the draft. Get out. But there has been an increase in the coordinators. There has been an increase in front offices dramatically. I mean, there's a lot of black front offices now.
Yeah.
Like, to me, you kind of have to look at the Rooney Rule almost as like, and I always feel dirty about it, but I feel like you have to look at the rule as it is doing good because it's forcing people to at least focus on some of the candidates of color, which is putting people in a position that they probably wouldn't have gotten noticed for. Not to say that they weren't qualified for it.
Yeah. And we've seen them.
I think that's you kind of have to look at that and say that's a little bit more, like Steve-O just said, that's a little bit more important than being just the head coach, because now you're in the position to make decisions for franchises.
Yeah, you have certain people that have more influence or that are part of the process a little bit more when it comes to certain things, when it comes to the draft, when it comes to the game plan and the culture of the organization. I certainly agree with that, and that's a good shout out, Steve-O. My thing too is like I agree that you want to make sure that you hire, again, like I said, the best person. You know, your resume precedes you. You know, you don't just bring somebody in and say, oh, he looks like this. But I mean, there's also a discussion that needs to be had of sometimes we're just comfortable around who we're comfortable around, right?
100%.
Like if I'm going to come kick it, I'm like, hey, you know, Pat's my guy. I'm going to come kick it with Pat because I'm familiar with Pat. We're going to play Monopoly. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. You know, if I randomly see another guy who maybe doesn't look like maybe he does, I don't know him, so I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna go with Pat because I know Pat's resume. I've worked with Pat.
Yeah,
Pat works for ESPN 1000. Like I have a more comfortability with this guy, and I even go back to when we had our previous GM Ryan Pace.
Yeah,
when Ryan Pace was looking to pick the quarterback. The reason why he picked Mitch Trubisky instead of a clear, in my opinion, clear-cut, more talented, more proven at the college level Deshaun Watson is because this guy related to him. He was like, oh, man, he drove a Honda or whatever car he drove. And, he was convinced. He hid and went to his game. He said, oh, this is the guy that I really want. I like his intangibles. I like the certain things that he brings to the table. This is the potential guy that I want. You know, I'm convinced. Are you convinced? We're convinced. Let's do it. So there's that. And we can't not sit here and not admit that that's part of it. Like, we're just comfortable around who we're comfortable around.
Yeah, no, for sure. Listen, I agree with that 100%. I think that is, and that oftentimes gets looked at as, oh, they didn't want the black candidate there. They didn't want the person of color there. And I do think it is a lot of who you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
And listen, for a lot of teams around the NFL, they weren't comfortable with bringing in Deshaun Watson. Now it looks completely different. Reason different comfortability. You know what I mean? But I think that plays a part in it as well. And I saw somebody, I think it was let me see who was in here. Nathan said he was talking about DEI and all of that stuff, right? There he is. He's like, DEI is best person based on credentials, color of your skin, male versus female anatomy should not matter. That's true. The problem is that more times than not, people of color weren't looked at as the best candidate, even if they were. Even if they had the resume, even if they had the credentials, even if they were the best candidate. And I think that's why the rule was put in place. Because, I mean, listen, how many bad coaches have we seen thrown out there on a consistent basis? How many bad position coaches? I mean, all of these guys, right? On both sides, without people of color even being involved in it. With people of color being involved in it. Like, to me, you weren't the option, or it's not even to me. In truth, you weren't the option because of the color of your skin. So I do think it helped with that. But I think that conversation gets so skewed at times now because oftentimes, like the Patriots, Why would they want Mike Vrabel? Well, he played for the team. He won championships here. He's been a head coach in the NFL. I can give you a litany of reasons why they wanted Mike Vrabel. But we got to interview a couple of black candidates because we have to be compliant.
You know what? And I'll go even the other route. I'll switch it up to because I want to make sure this conversation is understood that, you know, this is a broad conversation.
Yeah, it's very broad. I don't think it's one right way or the other.
No, let's go the route of what the Bears just did with OC. Because a lot of us were shocked that Declan Doyle was the name at the end of the day for OC. Forget that he's white. The fact that he had no previous technical experience as an offensive coordinator is what a lot of us were shocked at. When you had names that were out there that maybe we could go at, like a Bobby Slowick was also connected to the team. A couple other names that were out there that could have been way more experienced hires, and we thought could have been like okay, that's the guy that you go after clearly. But because we know Ben Johnson is going to be calling the calls, he's taking a chance technically on a guy who he values and says, this could be the next me. I see him. I see myself in him. He's just a younger version of me. Or Steve-O, like David Shaw. A lot of us connected David Shaw as well. But no, I didn't think that because I'm with you. I wouldn't have wanted David Shaw here. Yeah. But so you're taking a chance on a guy like that who is young, who is inexperienced, but connected to certain people like the Sean Paytons that he's worked under, that he's been mentored under, and so you take a shot with that. So, and that's why I think that this can kind of go both ways, and we can kind of, balance this Rooney Rule discussion out. Is it gives people a chance overall that maybe didn't have a chance before.
No, for sure. And that's kind of, we can kind of leave it there. I want to have the conversation because I think it's important to have these conversations on one way, like, is this good for the game? Is this improving the game? That would be my question to y'all in the chat. Do you feel like the Rooney Rule has improved the game for people of color, giving them more opportunities? I know that we always look at the head coaching position. Oh my God, the head coach is crazy. The GM of Minnesota is Nigerian. I think he's Nigerian.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he's Adolfo Mensa.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think that it has improved things for the NFL. It has improved things for people of color in the NFL. It has allowed all of these former players who look at the game and know the game and understand the game and are geniuses of the game to get back into the game in high positions. I do think that there's been a help with it. But I also think there's a lot of circumventing with it in a lot of different situations. And I think that kind of makes it tough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's where you kind of look like the Patriots, the Bears this season, where you go, I don't know.
You know what? I think Brandon Truth, in my opinion, might have just said it best. I think it did what it was supposed to do at a certain point. It raised the level of opportunities for certain minorities and certain people, whether it be men or women. But I think it's run its course as far as now there's still teams, if we're being honest, that kind of gameplay around it, know that, okay, we got to get this out the way. So maybe there needs to be another level of evolution for it, or maybe it just needs to be just taken off. Because at the end of the day, I do agree that the best people need to be hired no matter what race or background.
Yeah, no, 100%. We'll see. I like that we can have these discussions on the show. KL Sports Talk said, I know because I'm Ghanan. That's a Ghanan name. Okay, all right, maybe he's Ghanan.
Okay, nice.
And see, this is what I do think is interesting. Even black folks are like, all right, bro. Steve was like, definitely needs an update or remove it.
Get it out of here, or
Even black folks are just like, all right, bro, that's enough. You know what I mean? Because you, at a certain point, you do start to like look around and just be like, all right, bro, like, we knew they was finna hire this dude, bro. Like, why y'all bringing the two? Why is Eddie George here? You know what I mean?
I was surprised too. Like, somebody's doing a solid.
Hey, man, appreciate y'all for tuning in and showing love. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. For Mr. Media himself, Jordan JC, it's your boy Pat the Designer, back at it again. Let us know your thoughts on anything that we talked about on the show today. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. We'll be back for the Daily Show today. So stay tapped in with us, man. Bet on one love. A ton of content coming your way today. Peace. Breeze got deep.
Oh.
Oh boy.
Nothing wrong with a little deep discussion.
Nothing wrong with a deep discussion, bro. You know there was a couple of dudes in the chat though, like
That's all right. It happens.
Maybe I shouldn't have used LaFleur for that being up in Green Bay. That was trash. You got a black guy in the team, B.